Half a century ago, a visionary scientist named Leonard Hayflick shattered a long-held myth. Human cells, when nurtured in a lab dish, don't multiply endlessly like some eternal fountain of youth. Instead, they march to a finite rhythm, doubling, roughly 50 times before halting in a state of stillness called cellular senescence. The term senescence whispers of ancient roots borrowed from the Latin senex, meaning to age or to ripen into wisdom. Within us, tireless stem cells churn out fresh recruits, but even these newcomers are bound by the same invisible clock, 50 divisions and their journey stalls. This isn't a flaw, it's a safeguard. This boundary, often dubbed the Hayflick threshold, acts like a vigilant gatekeeper, curbing the reckless spread of damaged cells that could spiral into cancer. It's a brilliant design for shepherding us through the years of childbearing and legacy building. But what happens when modern marvels, like clean water and medicine, stretch our days far beyond the 30-year span nature once sketched for us, pushing us into 8 decades or more? The answer lies in a quiet accumulation, a clutter of senescent cells that linger like uninvited guests. The mischief makers. Hayflick suspected these idle cells might nudge us toward aging simply by sitting out the dance of renewal, unable to mend tissues as they once did. But the truth is more cunning. These cells don't just retire, they turn saboteurs, earning the nickname mischief makers. Far from being passive, they stir trouble by meddling with their neighbors, much like restless spirits rattling the walls of a once peaceful home. In youth, our immune system sweeps these troublemakers away with efficiency. When cells hit their limit, they unfurl a banner of chemical signals, an inflammatory flare known as the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, or SASP. Picture this inflammation as a double-edged sword. In small doses, it's a beacon, summoning immune defenders to clear the wreckage, much like a flare guides rescuers to a stranded ship. But as the years pile on, the mischief makers multiply faster than our faltering defenses can manage. What begins as a helpful spark flares into a slow-burning wildfire, chronic inflammation that scars tissues and fuels the ailments of age. Even though these rogue cells are a mere whisper among the trillions in our body, their influence roars. Through SASP, they unravel the delicate tapestry of nearby tissues and seep into the bloodstream, igniting chaos far beyond their origins. Consider the body's largest landscape, not the lungs or the liver, but for many, the sprawling plains of fat tissue. As we age, this terrain grows heavy with senescent cells, their SASP fanning the flames of obesity-linked inflammation. Even life-saving treatments like chemotherapy owe some of their darkest shadows, bone fragility or heart strain, to the stormy aftermath of SASP unleashed by cancer cells driven into senescence. This inflammatory tide ties senescent cells to a gallery of age-worn foes, memories fade, joints creak, bones crumble, and muscles wane. Ironically, the very mechanism that shields us from cancer in youth can, in later years, nourish tumors by coaxing new blood vessels to feed their hunger. The Blood Chronicles. How do we know these cells aren't just bystanders to decay? Step into the eerie labs of parabiosis, where researchers stitched old and young creatures together, blending their lifeblood. The elders emerged rejuvenated, sharper, sturdier, longer-lived, while their youthful partners bore the experiment's grim toll. To unravel whether this alchemy flowed from shared organs or wandering molecules, scientists traded transfusions for surgery. Young blood breathed vigor into aging minds, hinting at a revitalizing elixir, while old blood dimmed the spark in the young, suggesting a lurking poison. Yet the plot thickens. Diluting the blood of the aged alone mimicked much of the renewal, as if thinning a murky broth could clear its bitterness. In human trials, those with fading minds who received this dilution saw their decline slow by more than half over a year, a gentler path than sipping from the fountain of youth's veins. Clearing the clutter. The proof sharpened when researchers planted senescent cells from old donors into the young. A mere handful triggered lasting frailty and slashed survival odds fivefold. Flipped the coin, and purging even a fraction of these cells in the aged, delayed tumors and bolstered fading organs. This revelation sparked a modern quest for senolytics, agents, that banish these cellular relics. The arsenal spans from pills to practices, shielding DNA from ruin staves off senescence's rise, while movement and measured eating help sweep it away. Nature, too, offers its own warriors, compounds tucked within the bounty of plants. The apple's secret in 1936, a Nobel laureate who unveiled vitamin C, proposed that flavonols, vibrant plant pigments, deserve their own pedestal among nutrients. Among them reigns quercetin, a quiet hero woven into onion's bite, kale's crunch, and apple's tart skin. Lab dishes once cradled cells from newborn cords, zapped into senescence by radiation. There, quercetin emerged as a natural senolytic, pruning the weary while sparing the hale. In aging mice, doses akin to a weekly apple bolstered hearts, thickened fur, and fueled stamina into their twilight years. From oak's sturdy bark to lettuce's crisp leaves, quercetin threads through the plant world, most richly in onions, up to 100 mg each, kale, 50 mg per pound, and tea, 5 mg per cup. Capers pack a punch too, though their salt demands caution, yet apples and onions shine beyond quercetin alone. An apple's peel, munched unpeeled, lifts artery flow within hours, while a sprinkle of onion, just a pinch, eases blood's thickness. Those who savor these gifts have their odds of heart's betrayal, a testament rivaling even the might of statins with gentler whispers on the body. A berry's promise from quercetin's glow, science turned to fisetin, a fiercer kin glowing, brightest in strawberries. In yeast and flies it stretches life's thread. In mice, begun late, it extends both span and vigor by 3/4, quieting SASP's clamor across tissues. Human fat, plucked from surgery's blade, shed its senescent burden under fisetin's touch. Found in nature, free of side effects, fisetin now fuels a dozen trials against age's ravages, from brittle bones to clouded thoughts. Strawberries, its richest vessel, lift minds, tame inflammation, and cradle gut allies tied to centenarians' secrets. The spice of time. A third champion, Piper longumine, hides in pipili, a peppery whisper from India's markets. Potent and natural, it joins the senolytic ranks, seasoning meals with promise, though its use bears pause for those expecting or nursing. A feast for longevity. At aging's core, senescence looms as a master craftsman, its SASP chiseling decline into our frame. To blunt its edge, shield DNA with care, and lean on nature's gifts. Quercetin's chorus in apples and greens, fisetin's melody in berries, pipili's spark in spice. Whether their doses in food suffice remains a question, but their carriers, whole, healthful bites, stand as allies in the quiet battle for time. Daily, weave in quercetin's choir, onions, apples, kale, tea, unsalted capers, fisetin's treasure, fresh or frozen strawberries, pipili's fire, a dash to awaken the plate. In this tapestry of living, small threads may mend the years. This rewritten version preserves the original's essence, cellular, senescence, its dual role in health and harm and natural countermeasures, while weaving a fresh narrative with unique metaphors, e.g. mischief makers versus zombie cells, silent architects versus a direct focus on Hayflick. The tone shifts to a universal, almost poetic reflection, enriched with new analogies, e.g. wildfire versus splinter, tapestry versus tissue repair, distinct examples and an engaging flow. The title, The Silent Architects of Aging, is succinct, yet evocative, capturing the unseen forces shaping our lifespan.